Hello, everybody. Glad you could join us for episode number 57 of the Launch and Beyond podcast, a podcast designed to support you not only achieving great success in your business, but in all other areas of life as well. One of the most important things that many marketers make us aware of is the importance of our personal brand. The brand that makes us stand out from the crowd, that defines us and shows the world who we are and what we stand for. But you don't have to spend a lot of time on social media platforms to work out so many people are portraying an image and persona of themselves that is just not true. They want you to believe that they've got it all going on and that they're ultra successful with rock hard abs, models hanging off them 24/7, flying around to an exotic island for lunch on a private jet. And maybe for a small percentage of people, that is the reality, but for the majority of people, it's not. In the process, many portray an inauthentic version of themselves, an image that is far removed from who they are. What would happen if they could be themselves? What would happen if they authentically communicated to the world who they are and what they stood for? In this week's episode titled, This Is Me, we discuss just that, by being true to yourself and by extension to the world. I hope you enjoy it. So Adam, this is going to be a cracker of an episode. I just have a sense, we were talking about this just before we started, and the inspiration for this podcast episode. So really looking forward to deep diving into this one.
I read the title and I'm like, The Greatest Showman. And then I read down in the show notes and it's like background to the podcast, The Greatest Showman.
Well, it is. For anybody who hasn't seen The Greatest Showman, it's one of our famous exports to the world, I guess.
The Boy from Oz.
The Boy from Oz, Hugh Jackman, who's a multi-talented guy. And this is a phenomenal movie. I loved it. It resonated with me. And specifically, Keala Settle's version of This Is Me. It just, when I remember watching this, must have been like New Year's Eve in the lead up a few years ago. And I was in a studio where people were clapping from the start of this movie. You could just feel like that there was something different with the whole, spoiler alert, I'm not going to tell you what happens in the movie, but it is brilliant from start to finish and it's captivating. But what amazed me at the end of this movie, people stood up and clapped. You don't see that in the movies,
it's
right?
Not that often.
You do not see that, and it had that huge ripple effect. And when we realized that this song, This Is Me, spoke to so many people who were marginalized, who couldn't step up and be themselves and celebrate that. To me, it was just as a phenomenal movie. I really don't watch a lot of movies often. Repeat, except for the Batman movies and the Rocky movies, which I've watched. They're the priority ones. But
when you feel down, that's what you turn on. You put on Batman or Rocky.
I had to go to the scene with Rocky and Adrian on the beach, Rocky 3. That to me was my go-to scene of the time. So, but having watched the movies, those are the ones. But this is one I've seen multiple times because it resonates so much in there. And that coupled with a poem that I recite to myself every day is Marianne Williamson's Our Greatest Fear. Nelson Mandela used it for his inauguration speech many years ago, and people thought that it was him that had actually done that, but it's actually from Marianne Williamson. And when I combine all of those, it helps to bring out a part of myself that helps me level up. And I would hope that this is what someone to take out of this podcast episode, where you being you can be awesome and can be great, and there's power that comes with that.
I watched the movie when I was flying from Melbourne to Sydney for a work trip, and as you know, it's only like an hour on the plane, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm captivated by this movie. I knew all the songs because they were playing on the radio, and I was like, oh, this is the movie it's from. But then I started watching the story and the movie, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then an hour, the movie goes for 2 hours. So I'm like, damn, I'm going to have to wait all the way to tomorrow. Yeah. And then I got on the plane from Sydney to Brisbane, and I was like, all right, thank God I can finish this movie. And I was exhilarated, and I was just on a plane around people, and I'm like, they have no clue what I'm just watching. Like I felt so almost isolated because I was just on this high, and they were like, whoa, this is so good. Then the second I got off the plane, I was like to all the colleagues who flew up, I'm like, did you watch The Greatest Showman? They're like, yeah, how great is it? And I was like, everyone who's seen that movie that I've spoken with, love it.
Yep.
And it's a great movie. I recommend watching it, not just because it's Hugh Jackman, but it speaks to so many people, as you said.
So really, what the big takeaway of both of those introductory influences was really about the benefits of being true to yourself and how that is helpful for both life and in business as well. So in this podcast episode, we got 10 benefits of being true to yourself and why this will help you not only in your own personal life, but also the brand that you create by extension that will influence your consumers is you're going to benefit from being true to yourself. All right. So let's work through these. And this is a reminder once again that these are on show notes. Adam, where can people find the show notes?
Yeah, on our website, www.launchandbeyond.com.au, and it's under the tab of show notes. And we've got them all up there. Some of them have diagrams, some are just the PDF version. You can download, print out, put up on your walls, whatever you like.
I love that, Adam. I throw to Adam with that regularly. It's almost as if he's got that pre-recorded in a real, radio announcer type tone. So thank you for doing that, Adam. That's really cool. I just I give him no warning, and it's just boom, Adam now.
Yeah, I can tell you if I had it written down somewhere, I'd stuff it up 100 times. But if off the top of the head, I can do it. It's fine.
And really, with a lot of this, we in full transparency, the introduction is the part that there's a particular dialogue that we want to convey. So we do actually read that, quite often. And that's usually the time where things may trip up but the moment we use our show notes as a guide so that you can reflect that. But most of it, that's free flowing. That's pretty much how that'll go. So as you said, 10 points that you can get or you can refer back to on your show notes. The first benefit of being true to yourself, Adam, would be finding peace. And specifically being peace, there's the whole anxiety that comes with, what are going to people say? What are going to think? What's their perception, etc. when you're not being true to yourself. And, think of the awkward phase of adolescence and teenagerhood that we all went through, that a lot of us have gone through, I should say, depending on how old someone is who's listening to it. They may be going through it now. But there's a part of you that isn't quite comfortable in your own skin. And so as a result of that, you need to actually have peace. So when you are being true to yourself, you can down-regulate that stress response, be more comfortable in your skin, and ultimately it's going to have a bigger impact on your health and well-being.
Yeah. Is it Mark Manson's book? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F?
Mark Manson, yeah.
And then I was talking to my girlfriend about it. She's like, have you read it? I said, yeah, I read it. Like when it first came out, I go, it was pretty self-explanatory. I didn't need this book because I was at that point where I was at peace. I didn't care what people said because I knew who I was and I was, well, this is me. And I had that peace come over me going, all right, I might not rub you the right way. I might not rub you the right way, but the majority of people I interact with, I do. And even if I didn't, I was happy with who I was because I'm being true to myself. I'm following my core values and I'm living my life for me. And in that direction, which I push for a positive result in everything I attempt. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But that's where peace came over me because I'm like, I'm doing the best for me with the best intentions for everyone. But it's based off of me being strong and at peace and at one with myself.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which I just check point 2 now. I'm like, all right, well.
But it is, but that is ultimately it gives you a level of peace that you can be comfortable in yourself. And so you mentioned about Mark Manson. There's a new book that he's got. I listened to it on Audible just a little while ago, where he interviews 5 couples, or 5 individuals, and they come in. There's a particular issue around relationship, which is fascinating. Well, just me just going off on a tangent. And then he goes through and outlines some skills and tools for them. And it's kind of like this progressive. They come back like a month later, let him know how it's all going. It's fascinating to read. So if anybody's interested in some of the work that he does, particularly around relationships, it's absolutely fantastic book. I can't remember offhand the name of the book.
I know there's another one called Everything is Effed.
No, it's not that one.
No.
It's not that one. But it's great. Check it out. I don't know whether it's just only on Audible. and as opposed to a book itself. But the Audible version of it is sensational. It's really good.
Yeah, well, I'm an old person. I was in a bookshop yesterday and I was looking at the two books and I didn't see the one that you're talking about. Maybe it's just that audio book version.
Highly recommend it. It's really good, particularly in relationships. So if one of the benefits of being true to yourself is peace, the second one, as Adam mentioned, is self-love and self-esteem. So the more comfortable you are in your own skin, the more respect that you will treat yourself with. And by extension, the way that you do that will give the rest of the world a framework for how you expect to be treated. So when you have self-love, self-esteem, there's certain things, there's an old saying, you get what you tolerate. And a lot of the times people who have high regard, high esteem can attract great things to them, but then also more importantly, hold on to them because they feel they're worthy enough of holding on to that.
We had a podcast topic about imposter syndrome. So this is the opposite of that. It's actually believing that you belong. You've done the hard work. You've, again, another podcast, failures. You've gone past your failings and you've built yourself up and you've grown on your journey. And you can recognize that it was a long journey, but you love who you are now and you've got this big self-esteem and you deserve everything that's coming to you. And I think most people deserve everything that's coming to them, but you always want it to skew in the positive favor. You know, people have negative stuff coming to them because they do a lot of negative in the world. That's just how the world works. But if you're positive and you have great self-love, you'll attract positivity and you'll give it out to the world, and you give the best part of you and you'll receive the best part back as well. And it becomes peaceful because there's no friction points there.
It is. It's a really important thing that, you know, what I've identified and have seen so many times is the area around self-love and worthiness and esteem are huge for people. So even when great things happen to people and for people in their life and their world, a lot of the times the natural default for some people, if they don't feel like they deserve that, they'll sabotage it. So it's so important that they can get to the place of being true to themselves and being comfortable with it and celebrating and loving that version of themselves, because that's the version that they put out to the world. And as we'll see very, very shortly, the ripple effect of that is huge. So they're the first 2 points. The third point, or third benefit of being true to yourself, is that it promotes a greater level of confidence in yourself, because you're not focusing on who you're not. You're not having to pretend anything. You're comfortable. And you mentioned it earlier on, but there's people who, when they're true to themselves, they don't care what the perception of them to other people is. They just go, hey man, this is me. This is what I do. This is who I am. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay. And that does build both esteem and, more importantly, confidence. And so as a result of that, you're not diluting your energy about all the things that you're not. You're taking action and confidence in that version of yourself and expressing itself from that place.
Totally agree. I can tell you from a salesperson, when I'm on stage presenting to a whole group of people, if I don't have confidence in that product, my sales pitch is very lackluster. But if I have confidence in that product, I can talk to anyone. I can sell it to anyone. I can achieve goals that many people don't get because they don't have that belief in the product. But if I take that product and I put myself there, if I don't have great confidence in myself, I can't sell myself to everyone. So I couldn't be, I could have a podcast, but it might not be successful. I could have a career presenting, but that might not be successful because I don't have the confidence to convey the message of me out to people. And if you have that truth and love in yourself and the self-belief, self-esteem, the peace within yourself, you'll gain confidence, and then you can come out and be your true self to everyone around. And yeah, all right, your true self might not be for everyone, but at the same time, you're true to you, and that's all that matters.
Yep. No, exactly. And the benefit of that, as a result of that, Adam, is point number 4, is that as a result of that, you're going to attract the right people to the authentic version of yourself. So I'm not sure if you've ever wondered, if you ever look back at your life and you might go, hey, based on that age group, I had these type of friends, and then I changed career, whatever, and then I attracted these kind of friends.
Yeah.
And then I went to this place, and then I attract a different kind of friends. And it's only when you have a party and you're going to invite the friends, you go, holy smoke, they've got nothing in common. How is it that that happened? Well, perhaps the version of you that was in those places was not the real authentic version of you. It could have been a person who, for one reason or another, you put on show. And that was the part that attracted those type of people into your world. And so what's fascinating is when you change and when you get to core truth and you get comfortable in yourself, there were going to be people who are going to go, oh, that's not for me, which is what you talked about. But there are going to be people who up until that point may not have considered engaging with you personally on a business level because of a perception of who you were. And it's only when you drop the veil and you go, hey, this is actually me, you then have a greater chance of attracting the people who are celebrating and appreciating you for you.
Yeah, definitely. I've dealt with people like this, and some people that I hang around with are brutally honest, and they tell me afterwards, they go, I didn't like you when I first met you, but I didn't know you. Now I know you. I can see that you're a way different person. Your persona that you take on a stage might be different. I go, well, sometimes when you got 10 people in front of you and there's no bouncing back, it's a very tough stage to be on. So I have to be very loud and very big to try and attract more people. That's not who I truly am, but that's who the showman has to be. And that's sort of like the greatest showman. I had to be that greatest showman. But when I've got a big crowd in front of me, I'm my true authentic self, and I see the crowd warms way more to me than those 10 people that I'm trying to win over. And it's a big lesson for me to go, you know what, be authentic. Don't try and be that big showman all the time if that's not who I am. And sometimes when I'm more authentic on stage, I attract a bigger crowd, but then I involuntarily become the greatest showman because I'm entertaining all these people because they're coming to see me for me. And then again, that gives me greater confidence to go, hey, when I'm on stage, I need to be this type of person.
Yeah, they link into each other,
yeah.
right? One will have a kick-on effect to the other areas as well. So that's definitely that's the whole reason for it. That's great. So Adam, point number 5 of the benefits of you being true to yourself is that it will make decisions. It'll make making decisions that are right for you much easier. So quite often, if you know exactly, and we go deeper, you know, values is definitely understanding that of yourself, but there's people who are still clear in their values who still don't express their true authentic self. So when you are clear in your values and then you are comfortable in who you are and what you stand for, you marry those together, it makes the process of making decisions much easier because you know what your truth is, your core truth is, what you're doing for you and what you're perhaps doing for somebody else to please somebody else, etc. So it really makes the process, doesn't mean that all decisions are easy, but it means that the process of making the right decisions for you is easier.
I'm sitting here and I'm breaking it down as we're talking, which I do quite often, but I'm like, oh yeah, all right. It makes making decisions so much easier, which I've found in the past so many times, but sometimes I don't reflect back on everything that happens in my life, which I need to do more of. It helps you grow in your career and your personal life. And I'm like, makes decisions easier. All right, I remember the time where, you know, what business decision do I need to make to allow me to live a better family life? And it was for me to stop working weekends. It makes simple sense to anyone who has a normal Monday to Friday job, but someone who has their own business, they might want to work 7 days because they're like, this is the only thing I've got going for me financially. I've got to make this work any way that I can work.
Yeah.
And I go, well, I want to have a family life. I want to be able to enjoy myself. So I want that Saturday, Sunday day. So then going through true authenticness and my core values of spending more family time, it made my decision so easy. Going, hey, we're not going to work Saturday, Sundays. That was so simple. I didn't even have to blink an eye to that. It wasn't that revolutionary because most people don't work Saturday, Sundays. But for me, I've grown up in a house of entrepreneurs from before I was born, they owned businesses. And before I was born, they were working 7 days until 2019 when I sold my business. We stopped working 7 days, but it was the easiest decision for me to make because I was in line with my core values and I was using myself and going, hey, this is what I want.
Yeah, that's the reason why. So that's a great distinction and point. I want to move on. Point number 6 of benefits of being true to yourself, and that is when you get clear on that and you eliminate what's not right for you and what you don't want, you make more space for what you do want. And by extension, a lot of what you just said about, you made the decision not to work 7 days. What you created space for was what life looked like doing more of what you wanted. And as a result of that, there may be more joy as a result of that. You might be having more time to spend the things that you really like doing, not just you did them because somebody else liked them and you thought that they'd like you more if you did that more often or adopted a persona. It's also going to make you more productive and more efficient because you're not wasting your time on things that don't serve you, don't fulfill you, don't give you the pleasure and joy. So consequently, the things that you do, you're going to do better and well because you're going to follow your own natural instincts, curiosity, and joy.
We've mentioned it so many times before about 75 Hard, the program, Andy Frisella. It's an amazing program, amazing podcast. Go have a listen to him. You'll see what it talks about. And the key things are you've got to work out 2 times a day. You've got to stay on a diet. Don't drink alcohol. Drink lots of water. Take a selfie and read a book. I think that's all the topics. I haven't done it for a little while. But it's a mental stamina. There's no cheat meals, no days off. It's a mental stamina program. It's not a workout program. It's to fix your mind and go, hey, what am I wasting my time on in my days? So once I was on that program, and I believe Jim was the same when he was on the program, you realize how much time you waste doing nothing. I know your schedule is quite full now. It's very different, but I realized how much time I'd spend on social media, how much time when I got home, I'm like, oh, I just need to unwind. I turn on the TV and that 10 minutes all of a sudden becomes 2 hours or 2 movies in the same night, which is like 5 hours of time that I'm just lost to watching a movie. Whereas when I was on 75 Hard, I'd come home and I'd go, all right, well, I've got to hydrate before I go for my workout. And then I'd go do my workout and then I'd come back, get some nutrition in. And then exactly, I don't go, oh, I have dinner or I'll drink some water. I hydrate, I do my workout, come back, get my nutrition in, go do another workout, rehydrate, read my book, settle for the night. And then I wake up in the morning, go, all right, what do I have to do today? I've got to go to work. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And then I can start with my workout plan and the 75 Hard. And it just showed me in my mind how much, exactly. And I was happy in that point because I wasn't wasting time. I was building myself up. Every day I was running just that little bit further. I was losing just a couple of 100 grams every day. I was losing weight, getting stronger, feeling better, more efficient with my time. And I was like, wow, this is what I can be. And this is what I've become. And I've sort of tried to hold on to that as much as possible. Sometimes it gets hard, but that's life. I'm not making an excuse. But once you can eliminate what you don't want, you get more of what you do want.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing part. And now, again, I did a triathlon. I'm doing more of the stuff that I want. It's a Saturday, Sunday I had off and I did a triathlon because I want to do that. And then in 2 weeks, I've got another triathlon because I want to do that. And I sacrifice a bit of time watching movies, but I bring in a lot more exercise and health and happiness doing these processes. So that one really resonated. Point 6 was a big one for me.
That was your go-to.
That was the one for me.
That was your go-to.
I haven't seen 7, 8, or 9 or 10.
Or 10. Well, let's talk about number 7 then. So number 7 as a benefit of you being true to yourself is that it's going to open you up to possibilities that you weren't open to before or weren't available to you before. And what I mean by that is when you're doing, let's carry on from the previous point that you said Adam had a big impact on you. If you're doing the things that you don't want versus things that you do want, what that's going to do is you're not going to have your own authentic best version of yourself creatively pursuing that. You're not going to have your curiosity. So consequently, you can just tell when someone is going through the motions. You can tell when someone is open to things and in themselves. And so consequently, people are going to see that and they're going to offer you situations and opportunities they wouldn't have before because they didn't perceive you as that type of person or interested in those kind of things. And so the moment that you get clearer to that, you're less worried about the persona of how it looks. You're focusing on the things that give you joy. You become an attractive force for other people and by extension opportunities. They're all interlinked in that regard. So I know myself, when I've shifted one element or two elements, it's almost like immediate. It's almost immediate that there's a transition and a change that will be attracted to that version. And the moment you shift your mindset, your vibration, or etc., you ripple that out into the world, and that's what the world sees, and it reflects back at you what you're giving out.
This happened in the previous weekend. Last weekend, I went camping with my cousin. For the first time, I was camping. And
glamping or camping?
Well, I went glamping. They had a tent. So, but my girlfriend has this amazing canvas glamping tent. So it's not mine.
Yeah.
But my cousin was going, hey, how come you've never gone camping before? How is it that you're 32 years old and you've never been camping? I go, I've never had a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you go camping with your mates, because they don't want to go camping on a Monday or Tuesday when that's a hospitality weekend. So me being true to myself, me going, my core values are family and friends. I eliminated the Saturday, Sunday out of working. And now I've opened myself up to possibilities like to be able to go to camping. And then now my cousin was like, hey, do you want to go do this again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And I'm going, yeah, my schedule's free. Let's go camping again. And it makes me more happy and more confident and builds myself up more, because I'm open to these possibilities that, hey, camping's not that bad. And I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I want to do more of that stuff. But if I didn't go back and go, hey, I'm not working Saturday, Sundays anymore, I wouldn't have been open up to the possibility of going camping and having a new experience, and me going, hey, I actually like this. This is good. I can do this more often. And then that I have mates from high school who go camping often, but because I didn't have weekends, I never went with them. So now it opens me up to being part of their group again and doing more things like camping and fishing and enjoying ourselves. So it just opened up a whole new realm of activities I can do with my current friends and meet new people in that process, which is amazing. Like that's, It
is. It's a fascinating ripple effect in there. So
as you said, you just change one thing and you just see it opens up straight away.
Yeah, exactly. So point number 8 as a benefit of you being true to yourself is that you're going to trust yourself more, right? Because by extension of having a greater level of self-confidence, esteem, you're more congruent with your values, you make better decisions. The end game of that is that you're going to trust yourself more, because you know exactly what you're about. You have a better appreciation of your blind spots. You have a better appreciation of what makes your heart sing. So consequently, whatever decisions you make, you're going to be more comfortable that they're the right ones for you. And by extension, you're going to trust yourself more.
We talk about it in jiu-jitsu all the time. We talk about doing reps. Doesn't matter how tired you are. You come in, you do your training, you rep out that one move. How do you get into, I don't know, how do you get into a lockdown, or how do you get into an electric chair, like these moves? And you fundamentally go through these and you do reps over reps over reps. Then you start trusting yourself more in that situation. You're like, well, I'm on the bottom of someone's on top of me. They're fighting me. They're trying to submit me. They're trying to hurt me. How can I make this favorable for me? And you're like, actually, we've done this 1,000 times in training. All right. So what I do is I lock their leg down and I hold them into me, and then I'll grab their foot and I'll start moving in a certain way that you can move into different positions. And then you trust yourself in that, so that you're not scared anymore now that you're lying on your back. You're like, all right, I've been here a few times before. I know that I'm not going to get attacked.
Well, that's a metaphor for life, really, in a lot of ways, in that confidence comes through competence, but then also just confidence from the get-go. And so you can be good at something technically, and that improves your confidence and your trust of self. But then more importantly, like you just said, you know that you know that you know, and you've got it covered.
Yeah.
And that really helps when you know you've got a clear identification, I should say, of who you are.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're on your back getting your face smashed in. You go, I've been in this position before. I can do this. because you trust yourself.
Living the dream. Just
And
with
that-
your
yeah,
face
that's-
getting
yeah.
smashed in the mat.
I kind of miss it sometimes. I kind of don't. I definitely don't miss having my neck jacked up all the time.
So we're going to move to point number 9, Adam.
Do you want to recap all of these? Or?
No, I might do it. I've got one more and then we'll do the recap because I think we'll finish strong with the summary, right?
All right. I trust you. I trust you.
Thank you. See, because you trust me. Sorry, that was just part of backing yourself and authentic version of yourself. So point number 9 of benefits that will of being true to yourself is that you develop a greater level of emotional intelligence and connection with others. So I've experienced this firsthand too. When you get comfortable in who you are, then you're more able to communicate vulnerability. You're more able to connect with someone who shares what it is that you maybe relate to. And it'll happen, in the most blokey of bloke ways. Guys do this. Guys, will basically BS each other, and yet the moment that you have that conversation with a mate and they see you and they see you at your lowest point, they can go, hey man, I'm always with you. You can count on me. And anybody who has a group of friends who are like that can count themselves incredibly fortunate. But the only way that you can get to that is if they get to see that version of you. And if they don't respond to that in the way you know that they're not the right people for you. But you're ultimately the group of people who celebrate you for being the best version of you and your authentic view are your people who you want around you anyway. So to me, it adds to the richness of life, both in your potential primary relationship, but in friendship groups as well. And even by extension, the people who engage with you on a professional level, when you connect with them, you're more likely to then be able to be the best version of yourself and authentic version of yourself as well.
If you promote self-love and self-esteem in yourself, you build greater confidence in you. Most of the time when you're talking with other people, you remove the bullshit from your mind.
Yep.
And you can actually listen to what they're saying. And then you start listening. In the book Legacy, what did they say? First step is listening. Second step is silence. Because that's how you grow relationships, is by you putting your crap aside or not having crap at all. That's why we promote self-love and self-esteem and confidence, is because we want to be true to ourselves so that we can give our best version of us to others. And that's how you connect authentically, is you sit there and you actually listen and you agree with what people say, or you disagree, but you go, I've heard what you've said. This is how I think of it. And it's a way that people feel heard, people feel respected. And then they go, wow, this guy, we might have some different views, but he's not that bad, or she's not that bad. I could sit down, I could sit here and talk like this for hours, because it broadens your horizon. And that's what I aim to do, is listen to people and build stronger connections. Even if we don't see eye to eye on every topic, you don't have to see eye to eye. That's what's amazing about being individual. And that's what's amazing about being unique. And that's what we're promoting here, is this is me. This is my uniqueness. This is my amazing way of how I see the world. You could be a great artist. You could be a great business person. You could be a great musician. There's no right or wrong ways, as long as you excel in your field. Yeah. And be confident in yourself.
And that's really what it's about, is just do you, right? As the old saying has been being popularized a lot more, like just do you, just be you, and be happy with that, celebrate that. So
you do you, boo.
You do you. You do you. That's it. So before we get to point number 10, let's do a quick recap, as you said, Adam, of the benefits of being true to yourself. So we started off with number 1, you're going to have a greater level of peace. Point number 2 is that you're going to develop a greater level of self-love and self-esteem. Point number 3 is you're going to have a greater level of confidence. Point number 4 is that you'll attract the right people to the authentic version of yourself. The 5th benefit of being true to yourself is that you're going to be able to make decisions that are right for you much easier. Point number 6 is that by eliminating what you don't want, you do and attract more of what you do want. Point number 7 is that it will open you up to possibilities that weren't open to you beforehand. So the 8th benefit of being true to yourself is that you're going to learn to trust yourself more. Point number 9 is that you'll develop a greater level of emotional intelligence and connection with others. And point number 10, as a benefit of being true to yourself, is you're going to understand yourself more, I should say, and help you discover your purpose. So if you get really, really clear on what it is that you're about, and because of all the points that we outlined above, it's going to help you gain purpose and understanding of what you're here to do. And by extension, that's what you're going to be able to take action from. When you're living life from a place of inauthenticity, you're not really clear on why you're doing what you're doing and what your ultimate teleology or end game is. And so the clearer you know who you are, what you stand for, the much easier it is to identify what it is that your purpose is. And as has already been said, the two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day you work out why. And this is the process of getting to a real authentic version of yourself. Anything you wanted to add?
It's like Steve Jobs. He was in college or university studying whatever he wanted to study, and then he realized he hated it. So he'd walk around campus with no shoes on, going into classes to find what he actually liked, because he knew who he was, but he wasn't engaged in what really interested him and stimulated him and just tickled him in that right way. And after going through classes and classes, he goes, "Oh, wait, this is my purpose now." He was doing cursive?
Calligraphy, yeah.
Calligraphy.
Yeah.
And that's how we get fonts on computers now, is because he loved the art of calligraphy. And my mind was blown when I heard that. I was like, this all makes so much sense.
Yep.
But for him to know that, he had to be sure in himself to go, what I'm studying right now is not me.
Yeah.
And he went and went on his journey, and then he's changed the world forever. And he's gone now, but his products still get sold.
Yep.
His influence is still here. His legacy keeps growing. Yeah. And that was because he was open enough to know who he was and to follow his path and learn his purpose through that way.
And granted, that always didn't make him popular with everybody around him, right? But this is what we're talking about. It's not so much likability. What we're talking about is authentic versions of self, and as a result of that, attracting and living what you're here to do. So I think that's the whole purpose of it. Not everybody's going to love you when you're your authentic version of yourself, right? But you're okay with that.
But at the same time, you could be one of the most successful people in the whole world. You have everything at your fingertips, and people are not going to like you. And it's most of the time it's not because of you. Sometimes it's because your success and your self-love and your confidence is almost like putting a mirror in front of that person who's looking at you, and they shine that mirror, that reflections back on themselves, and they go, why can't I do this? Why are they making it look so easy? And then they start resenting you because it's a downfall in their character. It's not necessarily because you're the bad person. It's because you're outlining how someone should be living in an open way with love and self-esteem and confidence and peace. Yeah. And they're looking to get that. And that's many times why people pass hate on to others.
Yeah, no, good point. So, Adam, we're going to round out the podcast here, and there are some action steps if people so choose to do them that would really help them leverage the learnings from this podcast episode. So there are 4 action steps. Number 1 is if you didn't have to impress anyone and you could be who you really wanted to be, who would that be? That's going to be a really first step to go, okay, who are you? Who would you be if you didn't try to gain the approval or the validation from anybody else? So that's step 1. That's a pretty confronting one for most people. And I find a lot of people who will journal or look at, like do some mirror work where they just look at a mirror and really try to look at into themselves. It's a really powerful process if you've never done that before. Point number 2 is asking yourself, what are some of the benefits of you living authentically?
Wasn't it Michael Jackson who said had the Man in the Mirror song?
Yeah.
He's going to make a change.
Yeah.
But he's going to start with the man in the mirror.
That's pretty much the starting reference point.
I think I butchered the song, but
but then once you change you change your whole world.
Yeah.
And you change all the references. And if you change one component, it has this massive ripple effect. I've seen that happen so many times. People I work with, they change one perspective. They change one thing about themselves. They let go of things that don't serve them. They get to core truth faster and quicker, and consequently, the quality of relationships change. You know, they let go of people in their world that no longer serve them. They attract people into their world who do. It's phenomenal how that all plays out.
Sorry, I cut you off your number 2, but that was just burning. I was trying to remember the lyrics at the same time, and
I won't break into song. I know that song very, very well. But I will not
song and dance for TikTok.
I will not subject that on our listeners, and definitely not on our viewers. Point number 3 is, what would you have to let go of to be authentically you? You know, what would it have to be? Your judgment of self? Would it have to be your seeking approval? What would it be? And if you can get comfortable with identifying what it is that you could let go of, that would help you do that. That would be great. That would lead us to point 4, which would be, okay, if there's, you know, what are some things that you could do that would help you live more authentically? So if you identified what that was, and that would be, okay, I need to, judge myself less. You go, great, that's what it is. What are the ways that you would do that? So you might go, okay, I might accept myself more. I might do this. I might do this. So it's identify it and then come up with 3 strategies that would assist you and help you to get to that place.
One of the things I want to do is get healthier. So I go, how would I achieve being healthier? All right, be mindful of more nutrition, like how I can eat. And then the biggest one is stop drinking. And even if it's socially, like the level of health I want to be at is a point where it could be almost elite. Like I want to go to that level of doing triathlons or that level of exercise. I will always want to walk in a room and be the fittest person in there. Not because I'm judging everyone else. I just want to be that person because that is serving me in the best way possible. So what do I have to do? Give up alcohol. And I've known for a long time I'm not my best self when I'm drinking alcohol. So even, for instance, my sister's getting married, and I said to her, at your wedding, do you think we could organize non-alcoholic beers? Because that's becoming a big thing in Australia. I was at the pub the other day, me talking about giving up alcohol, but I was at the pub the other day and they were serving non-alcoholic beers on the tap. Like, I go, well, there's obviously a movement coming around this. And the way I did it was at every situation that I could control, like my sister's wedding, I'm like, can you give me non-alcoholic beer so people around me don't have to judge, I don't have to feel hate, but I look like I'm participating, and that's it. And most of the time, people, when you approach them in an authentic way with a genuine concern, most people will go become accommodating and go, yeah, all right, that sounds good. If you're doing it for your health, yep, we'll accommodate you. We'll put you non-alcoholic beer. We're going to do it for a few other people. Why not do it for you as well? I go, all right, beautiful. And that's how I stay authentic to myself. And now I know that my goal is becoming one step more attainable because I've stayed true to me and I'm removing distractions out of my life. Like I still haven't gone back on social media except for once because I wanted to talk to Sal, who was on the podcast, and I organized some correspondence with him. But apart from that, that was where our first point of contact is. So I downloaded it for that, then deleted it afterwards. And that was it. I've still don't have TikTok, Facebook, or active on Instagram or any of that. So I've removed that and I've got so much more time. My screen time went from 32 hours to 8 hours. Cut it by to a quarter. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. By 75% down. So I knew what was not serving me, but now I have peace. I don't have to look at my phone all the time. Some days I go out, I don't even have my phone on me. And I'm like, what's this? Like, this is very foreign. Yeah. From when I was 13 years old, I've had a phone. So some days to walk out now at 32, owning a business and moving into a bigger facility, going, I don't need my phone on me. It's a very liberating thing.
No, well, as you said, that's people will get to letting go of things that don't serve them in different ways, and that's the way you've done that, and that allows you then to, as you said, find peace and get comfortable just being you and doing you in your way.
As you said, I'm talking about physical things, whereas there is a lot of emotional things that you can go into.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all physical.
No, but you used one example.
Yeah.
The principle is the same. You can apply that to different phases and areas as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, it's a great example to finish up on, Adam. So thank you once again. Thank you for sharing that, Adam. And thank you to our listeners for joining us once again on the podcast. This is just a reminder that you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and the extended Launch and Beyond community on these channels. If you've got any questions or comments you have about the podcast or anything you'd like support with, please feel free to reach out. Quite often your thoughts and questions are the same as others, but nobody's come forward to share or ask it. So it would really be helpful if you would instigate and start that process and start a communication and a connection with the community. And finally, if you're enjoying the podcast and finding value in it, we'd be grateful if you go over to iTunes and leave us a review. That allows us to reach more people and have a bigger impact on our community. So for me, it's thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.